So we'll go into the next video I picked, right? For those of you that don't know me, when I first started like learning about finances, this is the guy that I started with, right? His name's Dave Ramsey, right? Somewhat controversial to some people, right? Me, he's a little harsh to people. When quick background on him, he started like doing a talk show host on the radio, and then it kind of picked up steam, and eventually like built his own, basically built like empire, right? Business empire almost essentially, right? He has a lot of books. He has people work for him. He has his talk show host. It's on YouTube. It's everywhere. Podcast. You can check it out. It's really good. People call in, ask for financial advice. So I thought it'd be good. Post a video with him. And if you see, this video is like 4 years old, right? So it's something like his message has always been the same. It's never changed. So it's just a general video. He talks about money, right? Um, Basic principles to get started financially. He starts with saying, "Hey, you need to live on less than you make." That's one of the biggest things, right? You can't be overspending, right? If you look at, at the end of the year and you got a net negative zero balance, right? I ran up this credit card, I ran up this debt, I ran up whatever it may be, then unfortunately you're not living good financially, right? And I think this is a great video to talk about after the first one, right? Because you're not, that shows you're not caring, right? It shows you're not involved. It shows you're not paying attention, right? Even if you're paying attention, you know, um, he also mentions, right, people that are, a common misconception that people like, hey, I'm gonna get these rewards, or I'm gonna do all this. He says, well, I never met a millionaire that's like, you know what, Dave, I got all my money from my extra mileage or miles and all that stuff from rewards. And for those that don't know me, I don't have any credit card debt, right? I would consider myself a disciplined person, right? Maybe above average disciplined person. And even me, I can guarantee you, if I were to have a credit card, I probably would have used it for emotional decision. Like, there's times that I have it too. Like, me and my wife want to do a trip or go somewhere or whatever. Like, it's maybe it's quick to say like, all right, yeah, just use the credit card and then we'll pay it off, right? So I don't have that there for temptation personally. And there's people that do have credit cards and that are manage them well, discipline, use their get their rewards, whatever it may be. And hey, that's good for you. But I don't want that temptation. I don't want to be tempted to do that. I don't want to be, I don't want to have an emotional day and just say like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna, we deserve this trip, so let's just swipe the credit card and then we'll worry about it later. Like, no, let's just eliminate that emotion, right? If you're trying to lose weight, they'll bring the cookies in the house. So that's what I like to say. So, I don't have it there. I don't have a temptation. I don't have it in like, in the freezer in a block of ice for emergencies. Like, hey, I got emergency fund for that. So he goes over that as well, right? And Dave Ramsey, like a little bit more for Dave Ramsey, he has this program, right? He has the 7 baby steps, right, to become what he calls financial freedom, right? Or he doesn't mention the video about this, but kind of a little elaborate, right? He goes, step one is to save $1,000. This is a quick, small emergency fund. And a lot of people will say, hey, this is enough money for emergency funds. And I always tell them, like, all right, how much do you have saved up now? Some people have nothing. So you know what? $1,000 is better than nothing, right? So let's start small. We'll start with $1,000. Then he says pay off all your consumer debt, right? Which is those credit cards, those bad debt. As we mentioned the other video, right? Those credit cards, those, if you got like boats or whatever it may be, cars, those are all bad debt, right? Vehicles, anything with a motor in it, it's depreciating in value, right? So if you don't know what depreciation in value, it's basically, let's say you bought a car for $20,000, which I don't know if you can buy a car for that much now, but whatever, right? $20,000 example. Next year that car is worth $18,000, right? Or when you drive it off the lot, now it's worth $19,000, right? So the value of that car is going down in value. So, you don't want to buy, you don't have debt with something that's depreciating, right? He also talks about saving 3 to 6 months, and this is, like I said the earlier video, right? Having that savings, having that buffer for emergency. So after you do step one, you start paying off your debt. After you pay off your debt, you start saving for 3 to 6 months of your expenses. And if y'all want us to go more detail about these things, you can check out his videos or comment, man. We can go more details about, hey, how do I know what my 3 to 6 months are? Well, how much do you spend a month on to survive, right? Multiply that by 3 or 6, depending on how if you're comfortable with 6, go ahead and do that. Next, they talk about investing, right? So invest 15% of your money, right? Putting that to a 401k, retirement account, or investing in somewhere of your choosing. That's up to you. Next, he goes over to step 5, which is to save for college. This is also one that's some people may not agree with this, right? Maybe they don't want to save for college, but maybe they say, "Oh, I'm gonna save up for my kids so they have something, start out with in life or whatever." Maybe it's not for college, but his thing is to save for college. Then you step 6, pay off your house early. If you have a house payment, start paying it off as quick as you can with the extra money you got. Next, step 7, he talks about building wealth and giving, which is basically, saving more money for retirement and also being able to give to, charities and things like that. Because, a lot of people with that type of money, they have money, they like to give, right? Hey, let's support this cause, let's support that, let's help out these people, whatever it may be, whatever your heart desires, right? I think it's important as humans, being able to help other people. Sometimes it's not monetary, right? Sometimes it's just, volunteering, things like that. Maybe you feel like you don't have that money to do that. So that's kind of what Dave Ramsey's about. I know it kind of went off tangent on the video, but this is kind of like a little intro video, right? Making a budget, right? I think in the video he talks about making a budget, which is huge, right? And in the video before that, she said understanding what's happening, right? So if you've never done a budget, what I would encourage you to do is go look at all the things you spent last month. And then a lot of times people surprised. They're like, man, I spend all this. Usually it's food. That's a common thing. Like people spend a lot of money on food. And maybe they didn't realize it because they're not keeping track of their money or they're not creating a budget. And then that's the first thing people do and they're surprised about. It's like, I spent how much money on out to eat, or I spent how much money for food or alcohol, whatever it may be. So he goes over that in the video, and he has his own app, but you can use whatever you want. You use pen and paper if you want. Use an app, use a Excel sheet, whatever it may be to your choosing. But writing it down, being able to do that, being able to have the financial freedom to do it. And I'll go over a little personal story on us, right? We're actually debt free. We pay off. We have all we have left is our house. We have consumer debt. Not no consumer debt, but we have our house payment, right? That's the only thing we have left. So last year we moved because we bought our house. So we had the wife had a job that was further out, right? It was closer to the city, and she wanted to try to be closer to the house, right? So she didn't have to make a commute and all that. Well, unfortunately, the pay. She's a teacher, so the pay over here is not as good as some of the inner cities, the Dallas area. So, but since we were debt free, we're able to like consciously say, hey, you know what, you could take this job. It's a little less money, but we have that financial freedom to be able to make that decisions, right? If I had all this credit card debt, if I had all these card payments, I could tell like, what, I'm sorry, we can't afford you to move jobs. And then, now she got to make a large compute, but also too, like her other job wasn't as, there was a lot of problems there, like, in the area, there's a lot of problems for that job. Like she wasn't happy, she wasn't satisfied and things like that. And now she moved here, she's happy, she likes it, it's a good work environment for her. And being financially free lets you make those decisions, right? Being able to have that financial freedom, you get to make decisions like that to say, maybe it's not ideal, maybe like I would love to have the extra money, of course, right? But you know being going in every day in and day out is important, right? For yourself and stuff like that. So because we had that freedom, we could make that decision, right? He also talks about planning for retirement, which is huge, right? You don't want to be a burden on your loved ones when you get to that older age, right? You want to be able to be financially free, be able to do what you want, being able to, you don't want to retire and just like, well, I got to stay home the rest of my life because I don't have any money to go out or do anything. You want to be free and say, I could do what I want. I could do this. I could do that. I could, maybe if you have kids or grandkids, you could say when you get older, this is what I envision, at least. Maybe I'm weird, but what I envision is like maybe hopefully when I retire, I have enough money to say like, what, we could take a huge family trip somewhere, like me, kids, grandkids, whatever, stuff like that. Like that'd be awesome, right? Because you know, being able to change that family tree, change that dynamic is huge because that didn't happen with me growing up, at least. And I actually heard something crazy. We went to go eat like Wingstop. It was literally like after Christmas or like something like, or no, I think it might have been before, but whatever, right? Around that time period. And some lady there, and she was talking that her grandma was taking like her whole family to Las Vegas because one of the grandkids was turning 21, and she like bought everyone's plane tickets and bought everyone's hotel, and then everyone else had to. So I was like, man, that's awesome. Like, imagine being that financially free that you can do that if you chose to, right? And I think that's huge. So yeah, this video is like a quick intro video to that things, right? And maybe Dave might not be your cup of tea, but find someone that is, right. Find someone that is your cup of tea, and listen to them, learn. And one other thing about Dave is that he's a Christian, he's huge biblically, and I always tell people like, hey, you know what, if that's not your cup of tea, if you're not a religious person, just ignore that part, but listen to everything financially, right? Listen to what he says about finance. I think it's pretty it's some pretty huge stuff. That's why he's made the emperor, right? He has all those books, dealings, and all that because he resonates with the people and he's able to help people out. And if you have any further questions, and this is not an advertisement, by the way, like no affiliation. Like this is just what I liked, right? So like I said, maybe you find someone else that you like, follow them, listen to their advice, and be involved in finances and take control of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree completely. And this is actually a great video. Been around for so long. Like I remember seeing him on TV before, like when I was younger. Like he's just been around for so long. Like he's proven that what he says works. You know what I mean? And to all the people that are behind him, his community, you know what I mean? I would even consider Sound myself like a part of his community. You know what I mean? Because he definitely has helped just by giving the knowledge, you know what I mean, out there to people, and he has his own courses and everything else, but you know what, he gives out so much for free, you know what I mean, where like other people and places and stuff like that, they like, oh, you have to pay this to buy this book, or you have to take this course or whatever. Like, no, it just tells you straight up like, hey, you know what, here's the basics. Understanding who he is, because he really just wants people to get off of the government teat, basically. You know what I mean? Like have your financial freedom, like do what you're meant to do on this planet. You know what I mean? And he's one of the ones, or he is the one where I got, money is a multiplier. He's the one that said that before. And I love that. It's so true. It is a multiplier. It just makes you more of who you are and is able to give you more opportunities. It opens more doors up when you are financially free. Now, a few things, right, that Sal brought up that is really important. And I want to go ahead and I can't stress enough, guys. Like, I also don't have any credit card debt or anything like that. Like my vehicle's paid off. And these are just the steps that I've taken just following these things. Honestly, it just starts with just writing everything down. Like just write it all down so you can see where everything is going. If you want to take that trip, if you want to buy this item and you're like, you know what, let me get a credit card so I can do it. You can't afford it. Like, don't buy it. Like, don't put yourself in that financial strain. Don't apply for that credit card just because, you know what, it'll help me have more money. You know what I mean? Because it's not, it's a trap. You know what I mean? That's why these rewards are there. That's why, oh, I can build up miles. I can do this and that. That's an incentive for you just to get the card so that you can spend more money that you don't have. Okay. So if you're trying to spend or buy these things with that card, you can't afford it. Don't do it. You don't need a credit card. Then on the other flip side of the coin, well, if you have the money, you don't need a credit card. You know what I mean? Like just spend it cash. You don't have to worry about the repercussions later. You know what I mean? Percentage rates, stuff like that. And not to go into too much detail, but if you have the money, you don't need a card. If you don't have the money, you shouldn't have a credit card. So either way, it's kind of like, two sides of the coin where you just don't need one. Don't put yourself in that situation. I can't stress it enough because credit cards are just so bad. Like they really, really are. People don't realize like the trap that they put you in with cards. Everything you do with your money matters. Okay. Just like Sal said, especially with saving, like part of one of the biggest steps, or one of the steps in the baby steps, is going to be saving that first $1,000. And the main reason for this is not only just having a savings fund, but just showing that you can accomplish that. You know what I mean? Start off with 250, then go to 500, then go to 750. You know what I mean? Then go to 1,000. By the time you know it, you're at 1,000, you're like, whoa, like I saved up $1,000, you know what I mean? And that's going to help you out. That's going to help you build that confidence and realize I can do that. Because for some people, like Sal said, $1,000, what? That's not going to help me do anything. But to some people, it's like, dude, I don't think I could save $1,000. You know what I mean? If you're on that flip side of the coin where it's like, you know, I don't know if I could save $1,000, then you really should start writing things down. You really should start looking into these things and figuring things out, because that's an issue. You know what I mean? Start off with $100. Don't touch it for a month. You know what I mean? The next month, save another $100. Don't touch it. You know what I mean? Just start going little by little by little. By the time you get to 1,000, believe me, it's going to happen quicker than you think. Then that 1,000, believe me, it'll multiply to 2,000, 3,000, and keep on going. But the thing is that you have to have those small wins to keep that motivation up. Right. And then the biggest motivator is just knowing that if something does happen, you have that cash, you know? So I think that those are great points. This video is a great video. I would definitely suggest, just like Sal said, looking into him more and understanding these steps. He has a very great general idea of how to just get yourself out of debt and stay out of debt. So I love it. I think this is a great choice, Sal.